Tell me why, because you're willing to say the guy who sold you the gasoline should be prosecuted for murder. You're the one that benefited from it. Couldn't you have ridden a bicycle or maybe some fairy dust to get here?
The guy who sold the gas and 50 years ago knew that it was going to...
Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. If you love freedom, common sense, and the truth, you're in the right place. Today, we got a doozy. I just watched a congressional hearing that honestly, I thought was satire at first, but no, this is real. A left-wing law professor, Mr. Arkush, actually sat there and argued that oil executives, yes, the people who provide the energy that powers America, should be prosecuted for homicide because of climate change. You heard that right. Homicide, criminal charges, prison time, for the people who keep the lights on and put food on the table for millions of families. Let's break down what happened and why this is so dangerous.
Arkush, define for this committee what homicide means.
Oh, sure. So homicide is a legal term that refers to, it's essentially a blanket term for any form of unlawful killing. And an unlawful killing is causing death with a culpable mental state. Causing a death means substantially contributing to it or accelerating it. And a culpable mental state could be negligence, knowledge, recklessness.
So you wrote an article in 2023 entitled, quote, Climate Homicide, Prosecuting Big Oil for Climate Deaths. In that article, you argue that oil and gas executives could be prosecuted, not just sued, but criminally prosecuted for homicide, for murder, based on climate change. Is that right?
That's right. I mean, I would be careful with the wording because murder, again, is a technical term. And definitely we're not arguing that they could be prosecuted for first-degree murder. That's killing with, intent.
But you want to put them in prison for homicide, lock them up, treat them as criminals, put them in. Murderers get put, people who commit homicide get put in jails with violent criminals. And your position is this is a reasonable and rational thing that we should put the people leading the energy companies in America, producing 8.5 million jobs, we should arrest them and throw them in jail. Is that correct?
It could be the case that some executives should be prosecuted in that way. Of course, you can't put a corporation in jail, so there are other remedies in that situation.
But you can put human beings in jail, and presumably you'd put the corporate officers in jail.
Yes, you can.
You'd prosecute them for murder. So don't let there be any ambiguity. And by the way, Senator Whitehouse was really eager to make clear that you're the minority witness. You're the witness he wanted. He was eager to introduce you. I'm going to go on the record as saying that is a moonbeam wacky theory that you want to prosecute people creating jobs and producing energy for murder. Let me ask you, Mr. Arkush, how did you get to the Capitol today?
So here's what I want to tell you.
How did you get to the Capitol today?
I took an Uber.
You took an Uber.
Yep.
Now, was that in an automobile?
Yes.
Did that automobile have gasoline in it?
Yeah. Yes. This is very, very cute. I see where this is going.
So I'm glad you think it's cute. Under your theory, you emitted carbon emissions.
Yep.
Should you be arrested in this room right now and prosecuted for murder?
No.
Why?
That's not what the law holds. So
tell me why, because you're willing to say the guy who sold you the gasoline should be prosecuted for murder. You're the one that benefited from it. Couldn't you have ridden a bicycle or maybe some fairy dust to get here?
The guy who sold the gas and 50 years ago knew that it was going to cause globally catastrophic damage that would cause problems for humanity.
But you have exquisite knowledge of this. You were saying you were an expert. So on mens rea,
I'm not done.
You have a level of culpability because you claim that the act of getting in that car was violence, it was murder, that you should be locked up. Why do you get to violate these principles in a way that you just want to lock up the person who sold you the gas but not the beneficiary of it?
That's your claim, not mine, because to be liable, there are a bunch of reasons, but one of them is you have to substantially contribute to the harm, to the death.
Okay,
and
so how many car rides is substantially? Is it one? Is it two? Is it 10? How many?
A single individual couldn't possibly contribute enough. The point is...
Well, what about if, say, you're a Democrat politician who
do you want me to answer
What about if you're a Democrat politician who flies private jets?
It would be helpful if you're asking the questions. Doesn't he get to answer them?
He gets to answer them in my time, just like he gets to answer them in your time when you are asking them.
Seems like I don't.
So What about Democrat politicians who fly private planes all the time? People like John Kerry, who say, for someone like me, a private jet is the only reasonable way to travel. John Kerry has the climate footprint of a small town in Tennessee. Would you prosecute John Kerry for murder?
So depending on how you calculate it, U.S. fossil fuel, or the oil majors, private oil majors, are responsible for around half of global emissions.
My question was, would you prosecute John Kerry for murder?
Obviously not, no.
Okay, so Democrat politicians are exempted.
There is no individual...
Democrat activists are exempted.
I'm not going after people for carbon footprints. The whole thing is actually...
Well, why not, though? Under your principle, carbon is killing us. You claim it is homicide. By the way, this is a whack job theory. You teach in law school. If one of your law students wrote this on an exam, any law professor... General Kobach, you were a law professor for years. If I wrote, it's homicide, lock him up, what grade would you give me and why?
It wouldn't be a good one. And part of the problem here is the same problem that the Baltimore judge, in rejecting all of the 8 claims brought by the city of Baltimore, pointed out with regard to public nuisance theory. And that is, it's not just the company that took the oil out of the ground. The individual consumer made a choice to use it as well. She said she dismissed all of their claims, rejected their attempt to stretch public nuisance doctrine to cover, quote, the results of fossil fuel usage and gas emissions by third parties located all over the world. You can't put the blame either in a homicide case or in a public nuisance case just on the company that extracted the oil from the ground, because everybody's using it, and we're all involved in it, and that's why it doesn't fit homicide easily, and it doesn't fit public nuisance easily either.
With all respect, I don't think that Mr. Kobach is familiar with the relevant law in this case. A defendant in a homicide case can't defend by saying somebody used my products exactly as I intended them to while I was lying to them about it.
So you're saying we should prosecute you for murder?
No.
Because you drove an automobile here?
No. I'm saying...
Well, you said you couldn't use a defense. The fact that someone else does it... You
contributed.
You're a murderer. Under your wacky theory, you're a murderer too.
I'm not sure I should be trying to speak. Can I finish a sentence?
For once, we agree. Senator Whitehouse.
Senator Ted Cruz. Thank God for him, asking the tough questions. He exposes the insanity by asking Arkush how he got to the hearing. Turns out, the climate crusader took an Uber. Not a bike, not a Tesla, not a magic carpet. An Uber running on gasoline. The very same product he wants to criminally prosecute others for producing. The hypocrisy is off the charts, folks. Now, Arkush tries to wriggle out of it, saying, well, I'm just a little guy. I don't contribute enough to the problem. But if you follow his logic, if burning gas is homicide, then every single American driving a car, heating their home, or flying to see family is complicit. But no, he wants to single out the people who actually produce the energy we all rely on. That's not justice. That's a witch hunt. Let's be real. This isn't about saving the planet. This is about demonizing American industry and controlling the way we live. The left wants to criminalize prosperity, jobs, and independence. 8.5 million jobs tied to American energy. And they want to throw the people who create those jobs in jail. That's not just crazy, that's dangerous. I loved when the Senator Cruz called it a moonbeam wacky theory, because that's exactly what it is. These are the same people who fly private jets to climate conferences and tell you to eat bugs and ride a bike. The double standard is appalling. When asked if Democrat politicians like John Kerry should be prosecuted for their massive carbon footprints, Arkush says no. Of course not. The rules are only for the little people or for the people they don't like. Here's the truth. The left doesn't care about the environment as much as they care about control. If they cared, they'd be going after China and India, the world's biggest polluters. But they're not. They're going after us, American workers, American companies, American prosperity. Now let's talk about law. General Kobach, another witness, nails it. You can't blame the company that produces oil for what billions of people choose to do with it. That's not how the law works, and it never should be. Every judge who's looked at these public nuisance lawsuits has tossed them out. Why? Because they're nonsense. You can't prosecute someone for providing something that everyone wants, needs, and uses, especially when politicians have spent decades encouraging us to use it. What we're seeing here is an all-out assault on American energy. The people pushing this climate hysteria want to shut down oil, gas, and coal, no matter the cost to families, jobs, or national security. They want to criminalize success, demonize innovation, and tear down everything that makes this country great. And let's be honest, if they can throw oil executives in jail today, who's next? Farmers? Truck drivers? Factory owners? You? Me? This is about power, plain and simple. Folks, don't be fooled. America was built on energy, innovation, and freedom. We don't kneel to climate cultists who want to destroy our way of life. We stand for prosperity, personal responsibility, and the right to pursue happiness without looking over our shoulder for some climate prosecutor. We need to push back against this madness, support American energy, and defend our freedoms. If you agree, hit like, subscribe, and share this video. Let's get the truth out there and stand up for our country. God bless you. God bless American workers, and God bless the United States of America.